Today's movie is Labyrinth, which is the fantastic 1986 musical fantasy epic directed by Jim Henson, produced by George Lucas, written by Terry Jones of Monty Python fame, and starring David Bowie, who also wrote all the songs for this movie. And yet, none of the creatures are played by Warwick Davis. That is actually shocking to me. The hero of Labyrinth is Sarah, played by Jennifer Connelly, and she's rehearsing for a play called The Labyrinth in the park. Now, whenever I rehearse plays in the park, a roving band of young punks always makes a beeline in my direction, with the express intent of making fun of me. Don't they have anything better to do? Usually I can hear them coming and I have time to duck behind the band shell until they leave, but they've caught on to that, and now they sneak around behind the rock garden and block my getaway. Screw you, Brock and Chase. Sarah's the classic long-suffering teenager, and she lives with her father, her stepbrother Toby, and her bitch of a stepmother.
Come on. Not the dog. But it's pouring. Go on, into the garage.
Like, you're not even gonna dry the dog off, you evil old hag. And Sarah's mad at her parents for making her babysit her baby brother Toby so they can go out to dinner. And so she storms up to her room. Now, I don't know why everyone's always going on about Jim Henson's puppets. That doesn't seem so great. I think I could make that. And it's a good thing her parents got her interested in theater because Sarah is dramatic.
We were worried about you.
I can't do anything right, can I?
Can I talk to you? Fed Toby and put him to bed. We do have to leave now, but we'll be back around midnight.
You really wanted to talk to me, didn't you? Practically broke down the door. Lancelot! Someone has been in my room again. I hate that. I hate it!
Like, I'm exhausted for her. She storms into Toby's room and tells her brother a bedtime story.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful young girl whose stepmother always made her stay home with the baby. And he wanted everything for himself, and the young girl was practically a slave.
I'm sorry, a seething bedtime story. She calls on the goblins to take her brother away. Unbeknownst to Sarah, unbeknownst? Look at this fancy motherfucker up in here. Oh, well, unbeknownst to you, it's time for tea and crumpets, madam. What a dork. So what Sarah doesn't realize is that the goblins are listening and are more than eager to grant her request.
I can bear no longer! Goblin King, wherever you may be, take this child of mine far away from me!
Now, we are in a fantasy epic, so of course this has deeper implications. But imagine just a regular girl from, like, Ohio or something, evoking the wrath of a goblin king to steal her brother away. People would think she was deranged. And, like, I'm not even sure her parents have left yet. They're downstairs like, what the hell? The goblins immediately take Toby away and begin terrorizing her, and then an owl flies in. And now, this part is pretty scary. Not the goblins, but the thought of having an owl loose in my house, just a pure nightmare. Like, owls are mean as shit. And if it was scared and trapped, game over, man. And the owl turns into the Goblin King Jareth, who is just a freaking elegant man. Look at that dude. This looks like someone who would say the word unbeknownst. And he offers Sarah a crystal ball, and he begins moving it back and forth. But this was not done by David Bowie. They had a special ball handler awkwardly crouched behind David Bowie, with his arms around him, juggling the ball with his face in a rock star's butt. I mean, that's the Hollywood dream everyone's always talking about. And it was an interesting solution to the ball juggling problem, but it's weird that they use that technique for every one of David Bowie's scenes. Like, David Bowie refused to do anything with his arms. He wouldn't even put his hands on his hips, so that poor guy had to stand behind him for 5 grueling months, just making the basic hand gestures of a person. Sarah says that she wants Toby back, and the Goblin King tells her that the baby is in the castle, and the only way to get there is through a giant labyrinth, and she only has 13 hours to do it before Toby is turned into a goblin.
Doesn't look that far.
The hell, you say? I don't know, Sarah. I got lost in a corn maze one time and I had to call the police to get out. They sent a dog in with a walkie-talkie strapped to him. I was stuck in there for like 5 hours. It was on the news. I could hear everyone laughing outside the maze, and I think they were giving me bogus directions on purpose. My wife left me soon after. She didn't say it was because of the corn maze, but I can't imagine that helped. Damn you, Nelson's Family Farm. You ruined my life. So she immediately sets out, and now I know it wouldn't matter once you got in there, but I would at least observe this labyrinth for 5 minutes before heading down there. At least try to map out a path. And at the entrance, she meets the dwarf Hoggle as he's urinating in the labyrinth's water supply. And man, characters in this movie have such weird names. Jareth, Hoggle, Toby. Like, what a stupid name. Toby sounds like something an unfrozen caveman would shriek as he was frantically pointing at a bus. Hoggle shows her the way into the labyrinth and leaves her on her own. And inside the castle, the goblins are just scaring the hell out of this real baby. And I had to Google it, and you can rest easy. This baby was not scarred for life by being in this movie. Although the actor did grow up to become a puppeteer, so I can't say that this experience helped him in the long run. And to make matters worse, we get our first Goblin King song and dance number. And now I had no idea who David Bowie was when I first saw this movie as a kid, and I certainly didn't know that he was a professional singer-songwriter.
And baby said, dance, magic dance, dance, magic dance.
And I think I could be forgiven for not realizing that. I'm just kidding. David Bowie was of course a musical genius. I just don't think that Dance Magic Dance really reflects that. Oh, David, this is a family movie. If you could keep the thrusting and gyrating to a minimum, that would be great.
This fun has gone and left my baby blue.
Ugh, you know what? With all the new restrictions on YouTube, it's better to be safe than sorry. And ultimately, I blame the Labyrinth wardrobe department for not fighting the tights. Sarah finds 2 doors and is told that one leads to the castle and the other leads to certain death. And there are 2 guardians who know which door is which, but one always tells the truth and the other one always lies.
Would he tell me that this door leads to the castle?
Yes?
The other door leads to the castle, and this door leads to certain death.
He could be telling the truth.
But then you wouldn't be. So if you told me that he said yes, I know the answer is no.
But I could be telling the truth.
But then he would be lying. So if you told me that he said yes, I know the answer would still be no.
Is that right? I don't know. I've never understood it.
Same here. I've never understood this logic puzzle. It just hurts my brain. Basically, if this was me and my little brother's life was at stake, yeah, he wouldn't make it out of there. And actually, Sarah may not have understood it either because she falls into a pit full of grabbing hands. Ooh, that would be pure torture. I would hate it if that happened to me. Especially if my pants got snagged and torn off on an exposed root, and all those hands were just spanking my bare bottom the whole way down. Don't do that to me. In fact, tell me the exact location of this pit so I know to stay away from it. The hands drop her down into a secret dungeon, and so the Goblin King sends Hoggle to lead her away from the castle, but Hoggle decides to help her and take her as far as he can, but they get stopped by Jareth.
If I thought for 1 second that you were betraying me, I'd be forced to suspend you headfirst in the bog of eternal stench.
You mean Sarasota? And as punishment, Jareth takes several hours off the countdown. They find a giant creature named Ludo hung up from a tree, and Sarah frees him from a trap, and he immediately falls into another one.
Ludo?
Now, if I was Sarah, I wouldn't be concerned for Ludo's safety, because I would believe that this giant creature I just met is missing because he was now hunting me. I would do terribly in the Labyrinth because I would just judge every creature based purely on looks. Like you look into the Goblin King's eyes and you're like, yes, I will steal babies for you. Jareth tells Hoggle to give Sarah an Enchanted Peach.
If she ever kisses you, I'll turn you into a prince. Prince of the land of stench.
It's really more of an honorary title. Sarah then runs into the psychotic fire gang. And since their heads can come off with no issues, they believe everyone's heads can come off. Hoggle saves Sarah from just the most gruesome death ever, and they fall into a trap door and almost fall into the bog of eternal stench. But if you're looking for a shortcut to the bog of eternal stench, look no further than the beefy 5-layer burrito. Taco Bell, live más. So they find Ludo and... I bet it does, Ludo. And they come across Sir Didymus, who is guarding the bridge.
Gotta get out of this stench.
Yes, it does smell, buddy. It's the bog of eternal stench. It's right there in the name, bud. So Sir Didymus says that no one may cross without his permission. Yeah, Ludo. F***ing hell, we know it smells. It smells for everybody. You don't need to keep saying it, pal. It's the bog of f***ing eternal stench. All right? So they ask Sir Didymus for permission, and he lets them pass, and he decides to join them with his noble steed Ambrosius.
Let's get out of here.
And now, this is the least believable scene in this entire movie. Sarah has just seen a dog that looks exactly like her dog, and she failed to mention it. If I see a dog that even remotely looks like my dog, I will tell the dog's owner, oh my god, he looks just like my dog. She doesn't even give him a second look. And also, I love dogs in these fantasy movies because they have no idea what these humans are putting on them, but they just seem like they're having the time of their lives. And also, I have to mention that this dog most likely died in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, that's sad. Sarah mentions that she's hungry, and Hoggle gives her the Enchanted Peach, which will make her forget why she's here, and he runs off ashamed.
Hoggle, what have you done?
Oh, damn you, Jareth. And damn me, too.
Man, I miss casual swearing in kids' movies. David, can you please lean forward? You're smushing my head against the rocks. Oh my god, I have a cramp in my leg. Jim, can you please yell cut? Jim, please? I have a Master's of Fine Arts degree from the Tisch School of the Arts, and my face has been pressed in David Bowie's lower back for 5 hours now. Yell cut! Please! And like most druggies, Sarah wakes up in a dump with no memory of the night before. And she gets tricked into going to a replica of her room and finally remembers Toby. And she makes her way to the gates of the castle. But they're stopped by an iron golem, and Hoggle jumps on it and takes over the controls.
How you drive this thing? Bear's reverse.
And this is every child when they get on a zero-turn radius mower for the very first time. Oh my god, Hoggle, are you okay? Landed pieces, buddy. Don't belly flop.
Hoggle, are you alright?
Yes, Hoggle biffed it pretty hard. Sarah forgives Hoggle, and they make it to Jareth's chamber with only minutes to spare.
That's the only way it could have gone.
Well then, come on.
No. I have to face him alone.
Oh man. Okay. I guess they'll all just go home now, not see this through. If I was one of these three and I upended my life to help this girl, and she just sent me away at the last minute, I'd be pretty upset. Like Ludo missed his kid's dance recital for this. What a slap in the face. And so we've reached the final showdown. And do you know what a situation like this calls for? If you set a highly choreographed song and dance number set in an MC Escher painting, well, you just read my mind, you son of a bitch. And Sarah remembers the last line from the book.
You have no power over me.
And Jareth disappears, and Sarah and Toby are transported back home. And Sarah sees her friends in the mirror and invites them into her world. And oh my god, even those sick freaks, like, granted, they're not fully evil, like they just don't know any better, but if this were real, then Sarah would wake up to her parents' severed head at the foot of her bed. And so that was Labyrinth. Not as dark as you would expect for a children's fantasy movie from the 80s. Like, they didn't deal with grief or trauma or really any deeply rooted psychosis at all. Jim Henson was slipping on this one. So thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting this channel, and if you want to help Distracted Nerd keep the basement lights on in his house, then consider joining Patreon. You not only get your name scrolling at the end of the videos, but you get exclusive access to breakdowns of the Batman TV show, and I think we're up to episode 22 at this point. And I love that they aren't even trying to hide the fact that it's stunt doubles. So let's get to know them, shall we? This is Burt Ward's stunt double, Chester Graves. Chester graduated at the top of his class at Juilliard, but could only book local commercials until he stumbled in a position on a new hit TV show. But being paid scale, and being almost 50 years old standing in for a quote-unquote 132-pound teenage boy, made his self-esteem take a nosedive. After a few months, his wife and kids couldn't even look him in the eye when he would complain about how his Peter Pan slippers were giving him blisters. Margie Graves finally packed up the kids and went to live with her mother in Connecticut. Chester suffered through the misplaced ego of Burt Ward for the entire show's run, and on the last day of shooting, he was hit by a bus and died on impact. All reports say that Margie and the kids did not attend the funeral. And this is Adam West's stunt double, Brock Chunk. Brock likes staring at walls and, what does it say? Going to town on a shrimp boil. I don't even know what that means. And like, that is all the information I can find out about Brock.